What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Cameraman Show. My name's Kartik.
I'm Manu.
And in this podcast, we talk about all things weddings, cameras, and business. That was a strong, confident intro, man. That was good.
Getting a bit better. I can't say the same about myself. But you're definitely getting better.
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll get you to intro.
But you are AI, so that's okay.
I am AI.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyways, I think we just stop talking about this.
It's
last 3 episodes we just talking about you are AI, touch your feet.
If you haven't heard the other episodes and you don't know what the AI reference is, you won't understand where this comes from. We are going to talk about some pretty interesting shit, as always.
Actually, before we start, I worked with I have a story.
I'll segue into what we're talking about. Yes.
I have a story that relates to what we're going to talk about today.
Yeesh,
right?
Tell me.
And I shot a wedding last month where I was doing video only. And the photographer was like a Western photographer.
Cool.
Right? No names.
No names. We don't drop names.
But the way this photographer's been working is that they're not really used to videographers working with them, right? Because they shoot a lot of these like small country weddings or like, Wollongong, Newcastle,
regional, rural.
Blue Mountains, that kind of vibe, right? And a lot of those weddings, a lot of times don't have videographers. Like the couples will only book in a photographer because, I don't know, they're not concerned about video, whatever
it's very
it is,
interesting,
right?
Isn't it? Like when they're not getting a videographer on. And I mean,
I think you should, but
I think you should.
To each your own.
Yeah, look, it's a thing.
I mean, I think you should because I need more business. But
shameless plug.
But so anyways, getting back to the point, he was used to not working with videographers, right? And one thing that I noticed off the bat was like we're taking like throughout the whole day, there was a thing where he kind of just like shrugged off the videographer. Like he would go in and take his shots. And normally when we're working together, right, I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to go do my shots. I've done my shots. And then I'm like, hey, Kartik, do you want something? Right?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, I'm like, oh, do you want anything or should we just move to the next location or whatever?
I think you're very considerate like that. And I do appreciate that because there's moments where either you're taking your shot and I'm like, cool, I'll just have a few things.
You do that back to me as well.
Yeah.
Like you'll find a 6 shot for a photo. You're like, oh, this will look mad for video if you want to try it out. We do that all the time with each other, right? Yeah. But this photographer was like taking photos and literally just walking to the next location without even like acknowledging that I'm there as a videographer. Very interesting. Right? And to me, this came down to one thing, obviously.
Lack of self-awareness. Every time.
He's not used to shooting with videographers, right? So to him, maybe he's not doing anything wrong, right? Because that's just how he shoots. Like he's just like, just want to go bang, 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 one location, 2 location, just get shit done, right?
I mean, or he's just a chutia. Like either or.
I mean, could be.
It's sometimes lack of self-awareness and being a chutia. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You were just made differently and that's okay.
But so basically he was like not giving a shit at all about the videographer. And bro, I was getting like mad triggered throughout the day and to a point where I was like, I had to like stop. Like I made up my mind about maybe an hour into the day that I'm going to be a chutia. Yeah.
Now you're like, fuck it, it's on, let's go.
At the end of the day, like I have to take my shots, right? Now if photographer's got like sick photos and then the client looks at my video and it's just shit because I haven't got any time to take these video shots. At the end of the day, they're just going to come back to me and give me shit, right? Like,
well, yeah, they're going to be like, hey, like the photographer got this in this area.
Why didn't you get it?
Why didn't you get it?
Yeah, right.
And it makes you look bad.
Yeah, and like when we shoot together, we're always worried about that, about each other.
Yeah,
like, hey, make sure you got 6 shots, but make sure I also get 6 shots as well.
Yeah, I care about you. You're like, sure. I want to make sure you do well.
Yeah. This is not about you. This is about the other photographer. I'm talking about. So self-plugging yourself into everything.
Self-plugging what? What do you mean?
Anyway, so I literally started like pointing it out.
Oh, so you had enough?
Yeah, I had enough. I told the photographer, I'm like, hey, look, I need time. Like, you need to give me time. I just had an honest conversation with him. I wasn't being a dick or anything, right? I was like, hey, look, I appreciate like you're taking photos and everything, but I need time to do video as well. So you need to be able to give me time after you take your shots, right? And look, the guy was like understandable. Like he was understanding. He did it for a while, but then he just went back to doing the same thing again,
defaulted.
right? Because I think maybe that's just how he's wired. Like he doesn't give a fuck about videographers.
Yeah, I think he's probably gone, fuck this guy. we're in the same industry, direct competitor.
No, but it's not, I don't think it's even that.
I reckon.
Yeah, I think he's genuinely like not used to shooting with videographers. Yeah, I don't think he's like on purpose trying to be a dick or anything, but he's just generally not used to. And it is which is today's episode, by the way, which is like the photographer and videographer dynamic and why it's really important.
Lots to be said,
right. But we're used to that, right? Now,
there's a trade-off, right? There's a trade-off because I think there's a conversation in my mind about whether you actually like the person you work alongside with and you're more inclined to actually have a better dynamic. I like you, bro. So I'm going to naturally...
Can't say the same, but...
there's a higher chance that I'm going to go, hey, like...
we're not really friends, by the way. We just do this. This is strictly work related. This podcasting is very
after we finish up here,
we don't talk to each other.
Well, we just I look at him, we death stare for like 10 seconds, and then we depart.
It's like this is awkward.
This is awkward. See ya.
Get out of my house.
Get out. But I do think that the more you actually get along with a photographer and videographer, the more better that dynamic's going to be. I remember when I moved to the UK. I lived there for about a year doing photo video, and everyone was like, who are you? Who the fuck are you? And I got the whole, we've never seen you before. We don't know what you're like. You're the new Aussie photographer in town.
And you've told me this before that you felt the UK was way more territorial.
It was so territorial. Like, bruh, I can't begin to explain how much people were very possessive, very like, hey, like, I know you're in this space now, but this is my hood. Like, respect it.
And which is so different from at least how we work here, because I'm always recommending other people.
Yeah.
And you're always recommending other people, right? What's interesting is
because I just do photo, I get asked all the time from clients, hey, who do you recommend?
Yeah.
Who do you think I'm going to put forward? It's going to be people I actually get along with, right? Yeah. Like, it's a no-brainer because I'm going to go, hey, in order for me to do a great, effective job, in order for me to take the best photos of my life, I would prefer it, or I'd know it's an aid when the videographer next to me can actually respect my space and vice versa. Do you think I'm going to recommend someone who like is too territorial, is too pushy shovey, is going, oh, hey, like, let me get my shots for 15 minutes and give me 2 minutes?
And it makes sense for you as a photographer that you're recommending videographers, but bro, I'll do that. Like I do photo video both, and I'm still recommending other people because I'm like, hey, if another person... I even tell them, I'm like, hey, bro, I just recommended you to this couple. I'm already booked out on this day, but, happy if you take it and stuff, right? Totally. As well, I feel like a lot of people would just be like, sorry, I'm not available. I don't know anyone else.
And that kind of concerns me a little bit. Like, you're stuck in a day and age where you don't want other people to get business. You don't want other people to grow. I think it's a bigger conversation around insecurity here, which is a whole different subject in its own. But when couples experience that from a photographer or a videographer, they go, oh, no, I don't know anyone. I can't recommend anyone. I think that should be a bit of a concern because it's like you don't have the best interest of the client in mind. You know that you know a lot of photographers, videographers.
And surely, like, are you that naive that you think that if someone's inquired with you, you're the only photographer they know? Right? I guarantee you everyone that inquires with you already knows that I exist.
Guarantee.
Anyone who's inquired with me already know that you exist, right? And they know that 10 other people exist.
Especially when, we talk about niches, right? So we specifically work right within the Southeast Asian market, right? The community is that small within Sydney, but also in other countries as well, specifically Southeast Asian weddings, where when people operate on referrals and recommendations all the time, they know that they've seen these vendors capture their friends' weddings 100% of the time. I have this thing where I was talking to like UK videographers when I was telling them about how small the market is. I said to them, and I stand by this, you can do your first South Asian wedding in Sydney. It's all you need because someone will find you from that. I promise you someone will find you in that. And I very clearly make it a point to live by that motto because in that moment, if I'm in UK and I've worked alongside other videographers, I apply the same rule that I'll do one wedding and someone will find me from that. I don't want to have a bad experience with another videographer so that person can go and tell a client, oh, like, nah, Karthik's not great because he was a bit XYZ. Nah, bro. I want to be like, hey, I want to be the most friendliest person in the room. I want to be the most nicest, funniest person. I want this videographer to be like, hey, I actually had a great time with this photographer. And we bantered. We had a lot of fun. We shot together. We got some sick shots. And I want to be the person that goes, hey, like, I just got a sick shot. Check out my frame. They may not like it. I don't care. But I want to show them that, hey, like, I'm here to help you, or like, I'm not here to step on your toes.
Yeah.
And a lot of videographers and photographers sometimes fall into that dynamic.
100%.
And it concerns me a little bit.
And thing is, like, the way I look at things is that, like, a lot of the times you don't even know an opportunity exists, right? Until you do something, right? And then opportunities just come out of things that you haven't even thought about. They're going to come out. Perfect example is this podcast that we're doing together, right? This wouldn't happen if we were territorial.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, correct.
Right. So if we didn't get along, like if we didn't recommend each other, if we didn't talk at weddings and work together on a lot of weddings, this probably wouldn't happen, right?
And well, I mean, case in point, I feel like I want to share this a little bit because I had booked in a client for Thailand next year, which is very exciting. And
shout out to you. You know who you are.
Shout out to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I remember. I remember you telling me that you got an inquiry. I think we were at the gym or something one day. And you told me that, hey, did you book in a Thailand client next year? And I'm like, yeah, why? She goes, oh, and you said to me that this person inquired. And I felt...
From memory, I think they said that, I seen you guys together on a podcast.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I love the way you guys talk and you guys have a good banter or energy or something like that.
I could be wrong, but I can't remember the email. But I think it was something
along the lines of that. I remember to an
yeah.
extent. And then they ended up talking to you and they booked...
Yeah. So now we're shooting a wedding together in Thailand next year. Yeah.
But... it blows my mind when photographers and videographers with separate businesses go, no, we can't do this because it's a direct, like it's in line with each other. If I have this out on my channel or someone that I publicize this, people are going to look at the other person. Bruh, like you're so like confused and you're living in a day and age where you're not thinking from a collaborative mindset and thinking about how can we all lift each other up rather than going, no, don't worry about that person. It's all about me.
Yeah.
And bruh, there are
it's all about just putting others down for some people.
And there are not just within photo video scene, within makeup, within decor, within catering, no one is in this space.
A lot of people don't get along.
And that's a bit of a concern. So I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah,
just saying.
I feel like we get along with most people though. Not to toot our own horns, but like in terms, if you look at all the other photographers in the industry, like I pretty much don't think I'm on a bad terms with anyone. I don't think you are.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope we're not being dicks to other.
No, legit. Like I'll generally say hi to everyone, and
I think. This is a bit of a broader conversation, but bro, like being kind just pays dividends. And I'm not saying you do this for the sense of getting something in return, but through history, I can always argue, not just in the sense of business, but just being kind to other people is just a good thing to do. And like at the very least, forget business. And then, it's nice to
make friends.
Make friends. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? Like I know that we're
not friends, by the way. But anyways,
we're still not friends. Yeah, fuck you. But I know that there are vendors that I'll walk into a room with, who are in my line of work. I'm like, hey man, good to see you. Like what's happening? How's life? Tell me about things. Whether they do the same, I don't know. I can't say too much about that.
Okay, now if you're a client watching or hearing this podcast and you're wondering who to book, right, as a photographer, videographer, whatever it is, why do you think it's important for a photographer and videographer to get along on the wedding day from a client's point of view? Like, why do you...
Like, what are the ways in which it can transcend on a wedding day to have someone who has great dynamics between a photo video?
Yeah, so basically, why is it a great idea that your photographer and videographer get along?
I'll give you an example. First thing in the morning, bride prep. It's the first time your photographer, videographer will step into the room together, assuming you don't have any pre-wedding events. And first thing in the morning, you're there, high energy, all right? And I've...
Fast-paced.
Short time.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. You have perhaps an hour, if that, right? And an example of where great dynamic and great relationships coexist between a photo and video person is when we're sharing shots. And I know for a fact, you've called me out on this and I've told you, hey, by the way, this is what I'm going to be doing. So Manav will set up a shot where he will do video. And sometimes from the side, whilst he's working, I'll work around him and go, I'm just going to click, take some photos.
But those are like not your main photos,
they're not my main
but they're just some extras.
They're just some extra stuff on the side just to get a few creative shots. And I'll work around the angles. Maybe I'll get some good stuff. But I know for a fact that it bothers you when I flash whilst you're taking videos. To an extent.
Yeah. I would say like, especially if it's like stuff that I know is definitely going to go into a highlight video.
And you just see that.
That
flash of light.
And I tell you sometimes like, just get a couple of shots. Just don't flash anything. Just for a couple of shots. And then you can go. But I mean, that doesn't mean that I didn't mind you flashing at all. Like there's a lot of shots that are gonna have flashes in there, which is like like you know your stuff for like the full length video and stuff. You can't really control. I can't literally tell you, Kartik, just don't do flash at all.
So obviously, like I'm not doing it for everything, but in an area where I'm like, okay, I can switch this off for a little bit. Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah. But that comes down to the dynamic, right? The other part is going, okay, so
mind you, before you say anything, the other part of this is you know how I bring like a video light with me, right? So a lot of times you don't even need to use flash because I bring that with me, and you already know that I'm going to bring that with me, so you already know what you need to bring in.
There are some videographers actually that I remember who bring their lights, and it does actually help me a lot because their light quality would be a lot better than maybe a flash quality, but it's also centered and plus controlled. Because it's like a constant light. Correct.
The video doesn't have to have any flash in it. The photos don't have any.
So it works out.
Yeah, so it works out.
But there are some videographers who don't do that. Yeah, they're like, well, this is my equipment.
It's natural light.
It's natural light or whatever, and then I'll have to flash.
Good luck getting a natural light shot at 5 a.m. when it's like dark.
Especially when you're doing like South Asian weddings early in the morning. But the other part is going, I know there's been moments in the past where we're on time crunch and you're doing, say, like detail shots, right? And you'll take a shot, then you'll take, say, like a jewelry shot, then you'll take like an earring shot, then you'll take like a hair shot, then you'll take like a junni shot or whatever it is. I know that there's heaps of moments like that. And how you and I work is going, you're just going to take that for like, you'll just do your whole bunch in one go. Then I'll do all of my bunch in one go. And what I think is a bit difficult is when you go a little bit, then I go a little bit, then you go, like, it just takes a bit more time.
It breaks like the momentum.
Yeah. I would much rather go, you know what? For the next 2-3 minutes, you're going to do everything you need to do
for video,
and then I'll just go straight after that. Yeah. And I think it allows you to just be in your flow. Yeah. There's nothing more annoying when you're like in your flow and then you're going, oh, I'm just going to have to stop because Kartik needs his shot. Get your shot. And then, you know what the good thing is I've realized that we do? You do this thing where you do your shots and sometimes you notice I'm just sort of sitting idle and I'm not taking shots, but I'm thinking. And I'm thinking about what do I want to do next? Then when I jump in, you're kind of saying idle and then you're thinking. And I've noticed we've done this a lot.
And also I feel like because we work together with each other so much, we already know when we have the shots we need. Yeah. So we know when to like cut it off as well. Because I work with photographers, they'll just keep going. I'm like we're getting late. We gotta go or whatever. Yeah. Like sometimes me and you, we already know that the shot's done.
The same thing happens during a post-wedding photo shoot. I've realized that whenever I'm in my flow, you're probably being idle if you don't need the shot that I'm taking. Yeah. And I guarantee you, there's something you're thinking of. Yeah. There's something you're thinking of that you're like, oh, actually, I want to try something, which is good because by the time I run out of the idea, you're jumping in and we have that great synergy of going, cool, as soon as I'm done, Manav's going to jump in and then I'm going to piggyback off the back of that. And it gives me time to think as well. Yeah. That's great because then it shows a couple that, you know, these photographers, videographers have a great relationship. They would know how to do these things together. But also, we talked about this in the first episode as well. How do we make couples laugh? I know I do truthier shit. I know I do fucked up shit. I know you do it too sometimes. But I feel comfortable doing it around you. Yeah. Because I know you're not going to judge me as much.
You talked about like how you did it with someone else.
Yeah. I made
like UK or something.
Again, referencing the first episode that we ever released on this podcast. I was making sex noises. I don't know. Here we go again. Yeah. And I was like, doing all that shit.
He's like, what the fuck?
There's a cat here on the table just looking at me. What the fuck is going on? Yeah. And the videographer's like,
yeah.
Are you all right? Are you okay? Is something? Are you all there?
Brother
starving. And I'm like, it's something that I do. I'm sorry. I should have caveated by saying this is something that I do. And they just looked at me and I felt so embarrassed because they didn't get it.
Was this like a really established videographer already?
Yeah. And he's thinking, you're probably never going to go places, man. Yeah. Like he's looking at me and going, there's something wrong with you. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. But when I have a good relationship with a good videographer, it makes me comfortable. And when I'm comfortable, I can create a lot more and it keeps the client happy. You know what I mean?
Fair. So another reason why I think finding someone that works well together for a client anyway is important is because like, I mean, I don't know about other videographers, but personally I use like sometimes 4 cameras, sometimes 5 cameras to film weddings, right?
Because you're doing different angles on them.
And there's always like multiple camera angles of filming everything. Now I know some videographers only use like 2 cameras, 3 cameras, whatever it is what it is. But you know that when you're shooting with me, if you're in front of a 1 camera angle, it's not a big deal because there's always like 2 or 3 other camera angles capturing the same thing from different angles.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
And because you know that, I feel like it allows you to move freely on the day as well as a photographer.
It means I'm not it means I'm not conscious, right? It means that I'm going in knowing that, okay, if I just need my shot, I can quickly get in front of your camera, but there's going to be another shot that I'll take afterwards. Or my second photographer is taking some shot because your camera is in sort of my way. So I'm like, okay, well, at least they've got it. But that's the dynamic that we've built.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there are other brands who are very, very like, do not
come in front of my camera.
Come in front of my camera. And
but I think you're self-aware with that anyway.
Yeah,
that
like
you already know. Like,
yeah.
Look, a lot of the times you're gonna cut a camera angle, you're gonna shoot, and then you're gonna move away.
Yeah,
you're not standing there for like an hour or something.
I remember you shared this literally in the last episode, or the one we just released about the photographer and the couple were kissing, and then they got in your way.
Yeah,
that's bad. Yeah, that's proper bad.
Like imagine like your kiss is like one of your main shots in the church, right?
I had
this. I had this.
To kiss.
Yeah,
like,
I had
this. Now kiss the bride.
Yeah, I had a photographer who literally just blocked my shot.
Fucking hell.
And like imagine like I'm shooting on 70 to 100, like right down the aisle.
Yeah.
I'm about to get the kiss shot, and he just blocks everything. And I was shooting like right down the aisle with like a 70 to 100, and this guy literally just comes in front of my shot and just blocks everything. And luckily, I had like multiple camera angles going on.
I'm not even there, and I feel triggered for you, man.
Yeah,
because that's like you don't do that shit. You just got to be mindful. Yeah. And again, we wear headsets so we can talk about this stuff, but I can imagine some photographers, videographers don't. And that's okay. I'm not saying you have to, but
the headsets,
brah, they're so good. We just released an episode dedicated to headsets specifically.
Yeah.
Go check that out.
Yeah.
But it does help on the day because then we're coordinating, we're communicating, we're understanding what things like we shouldn't get in front of. The other part is going, I know for a fact that, say for instance, you've been away and something's happening, I will literally stop the couple. I'll be like, hey, before we continue, let me just grab the videographer.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people don't do that shit?
Bro, the amount of times I've been in a situation where I worked with a photographer who doesn't give a shit about videographers, and I'm like, where's the couple? Where's the photographer gone?
Yep.
He's literally just taken them out, done a whole like 15-minute shoot with them while I'm doing like some deco shots or something, right? And didn't tell me at all. Like,
don't fucking progress the day unless the videographer's there.
Yeah, and unless both of you there. Like,
unless you're both there.
This onus is on the videographer as well. Like, don't just take the couple out.
It goes both ways.
If the photographer's not there,
like, if I see the videographer doing something without me and they didn't call me or bother to tell me, that bothers me because I'd be like, hey, would I need these shots as well? Like, and the same thing works for if something's happening. For instance, like I know with a lot of South Asian weddings, there are a lot of rituals that take place, right? Like smaller things on the wedding day. And sometimes whilst that's happening, something else is happening. So there's a few things going on here. And so it's very easy for moments to be missed. And that's why I'm like, pause before something starts here. Let me just grab one of the video boys. It may be you, maybe a second, it doesn't really matter, but someone has to be here. And that's an example of a great dynamic between a photographer and videographer where they go, hey, I have this moment captured, but I know the videographer doesn't or the photographer doesn't. Pause for a second. Guys, just give us 30 seconds. Let me just bring that person. Because that videographer or photographer has not only the client's interest at mind, but the other vendor's interest at mind. And that is where you recognize that these people can actually work along together.
I think at the end of the day, if you're a photographer or a videographer, your interest should be what do the couple want?
It should always be what the couple want.
At the end of the day, like you're literally there working for the couple 100%. And not trying to like get your shit, but trying to put the other person down or whatever.
You're not trying to one up.
You're not trying to one up. You're trying to work together to achieve what's best for the couple.
Yeah.
Because that's your client. Yeah.
Like I get inspired when videographers do a particular shot in a video perspective.
And then you've not even thought about that.
And I've not even thought about that. I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Like, and then they tell you, because I like a lot of times we do this with each other as well. Be like, we're like, bro, I think this will be a sick shot for a photo.
You tell me like, you're like, oh, Kartik, like this, get this shot because this looks sick. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa. Yeah. But I don't like gatekeeping. I don't like gatekeeping when I'm like, where someone has a sick shot and then they just walk off real quickly without telling me about what their thought process was behind that. And again, like mindset. Why are we gatekeeping? Is there an insecurity here? Do you view me as a direct competitor? Are we territorial? These are the reasons as to why a lot of the time, like you're going to create this big void between two different parties, two businesses where there shouldn't be. Because you're going to grow regardless. You may as well help people grow with you. You're not going to lose out on work. You're not going to have someone...
You're probably going to get more work if you collaborate.
Bruh. You know what? Clients can sense that. I swear to God, people have literally come up to us and gone, oh my God, my 2 favorite vendors. Like, you know, I feel proud of saying that. But they've literally gone, oh, you guys work, like we just shit talk. It's great. You guys are fun. And they get excited. We obviously have fun with it. Yeah. And we don't feel like it's office work, or we don't feel like it's a direct competition sort of line. It's more of going, well, let's just have fun with this. Just do what we do. Enjoy it. Get paid whilst doing it. Brah, win, win, win. Let's freaking go.
And like, I know we've talked about this on earlier podcasts about how good are headsets, bro. Like, and how much do they help in terms of like,
so good
for a photographer and videographer dynamic, right? And thing is, like, I encourage if I'm not shooting with you, like obviously if I'm shooting with my team and I'm doing both photo and video, we all wear headsets because we want to communicate with each other. But I would encourage you to ask the other person you're going to be working with, hey, let's wear headsets. And look, I've been turned down before. Like some photographers are like, no, I don't want to wear a headset, right? And like, I think once it was like, because I don't want to wreck my hair or something. I'm like, bruh, are you serious?
I mean,
like, you're here to like, no, but legit, like, you're here to like work for the couple, try to get the best results. The best communication you're going to do is if you wear a headset. And this guy comes to me, he's like, oh yeah, I don't want to wreck my hair, so I don't want to put a headset on. I'm like, all right, like I didn't ask him again. This was another photographer.
You know what I do appreciate, and I just thought of this now, is I know that there are some couples out there who traditionally prefer to book the same cultural type of photographer videographer than the opposite to that. And
so for example, like white weddings, they would prefer like a white photographer.
Makes sense.
Indian weddings, you prefer Indian photographer because you know you already know the culture and everything.
You just know.
Yeah.
However, I know for a fact that, and I think I did this recently for a New Zealand wedding, where as a South Asian photographer capturing a South Asian wedding, the videographer wasn't South Asian.
Yep.
There was this white guy. Shout out to him. He's awesome. But he was a bit, hey, like, is this important? And I'm like, yeah, bro, this shit's important. You got to get this.
Yeah.
Like, that's like something's like
he's thinking, what the fuck? They're cutting some coconut. What the fuck is this?
What the fuck's a coconut?
Like, what am I going to capture this shit?
Why the garland exchange so important? What's the 7 steps? What's this fire? Like, well, why fire? Like, what the fuck is that shit? Bruh, get it.
Yeah.
But I make sure, and I don't have to do this. I don't owe that person anything, but I make sure to be like, hey, so by the way, like, what's going to happen now is the couple's about to do this thing, and when this thing happens, like this is going to happen, and when that happens, everyone's going to start crying or something like that. I'll be like, so the mum's about to pin a dupatta, and most white people are like, what the fuck's a dupatta? A veil. And it's going to be a very beautiful moment between the mother and the bride. You might want to sort of capture that. And some photographers who are non-South Asian, or videographers who are non-South Asian, won't recognize that. But this represents the dynamic of your brand, your personality, to go, I know the other vendor's going to struggle because they don't know this culture. Let me just guide them. Now, is it taking up my time? Probably. Is it going, hey, like, now I have to explain this? Look, a little bit, but...
And you don't really have the onus to do that.
I don't have the onus to do that. Yeah. But first of all, we talk about this. I'm glad we reference this. What person you want to be versus what business owner do you want to be, right? The person that I want to be is a person that goes, hey, look, you know what? This isn't your forte. Let me help you out. Because tomorrow you might grab a South Asian client that I didn't get. But who do you think you're going to recommend? The guy who helped you out on the day, or Joe Blow who didn't give a shit about you when something was happening and didn't bother to tell you, by the way, this is really important? Of course it's going to be the person who helped you out on the day.
Yeah.
And this is
regardless of even that, like let's even say that it's not even about getting more bookings or whatever. It's just, if you do stuff like that, the other person's going to recognize that on the day, and they'll work better with you on the day if you're just nice to them in general, right?
Bruh.
It's not even about like, oh, if you'll recommend me in the future or whatever. It's like, if you're just nice to each other, you're going to work way well together.
Yeah,
like,
I think when you keep the collaborative mindset approach, when you adopt the collaborative mindset, you're gonna automatically go, I'm gonna start shooting the best that I possibly can, because we now know that we are gonna shoot with each other's best interest at heart. We know that we can rely on each other for creative inspiration. We know that there's not going to be a moment where I'm going to miss because I'm not there. The other videographer is going to grab me. And we know that the couple, which is the main client, is going to be happy at the end of the day. And that is something that I cannot stress enough whenever a client is looking at a photo and video, like brands who are perhaps separate, and going, how do I get the best of both worlds from these respective talents, but make sure they get along? And no one really thinks about that.
No one thinks about that, but it's such a big, important thing. Like, imagine you're not getting along.
Imagine we fucking hated each other.
Yeah.
And
then
clients,
that's
and clients loved our work. But imagine we hated each other.
Yeah, and that's going to translate to how your work's going to be on the wedding day. Because, like, I'm not going to help you out for shit. You ain't going to help me out for shit.
I ain't going to do shit for you. Fuck you, bro. I ain't going to recommend
I'm
you
going to take the couple out and I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck off. Let's just continue on this event right now. Videographer's chucking a dump in the toilet or whatever. Doesn't need to be here. Not important.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
But that right there is a very insecure mindset. And it's a limiting mindset that means that I'm never going to grow as a human, let alone a business owner. You definitely ain't going to get bookings from me because I ain't recommending you. And we're not going to have that relationship and synergy. But again, to each their own.
Now, okay, let's say if you're a photographer, let's say, which you are. But now if you're shooting with a videographer for the first time, or if I'm a videographer, I'm shooting with a photographer for the first time, what are some tips that you would say that you have used in the past or you can give others that what's a rapport building, basically?
First thing, I would probably, and you know what, shout out to Taha. Taha's
another videographer in
Sydney.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever heard of this guy. Bro, it wasn't even on the wedding day. The bloke DM'd me.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey man, just so you know, we're
got in touch with you before.
We're just working with each other. I was like, I love you already.
Yeah.
I love you already.
Yeah.
And the reason as to why he
really nice guy, by the way.
Yeah. And the reasons to why he did that is because
Yeah.
he's trying to build a rapport with the photographer.
Yep.
Because he knows that my dynamic is going to be really important with that person, so we collaborate effectively. But the client is going to appreciate that more than anything. And that is an example of someone who's going above and beyond to build that relationship, to build that understanding and trust, and also credibility to have a really great working day on the wedding day. Love it.
So he got in touch with you beforehand?
He got in touch with me beforehand. He slid into my DMs. He DM'd me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bruh, thank you so much.
Slid into your DM. That sounds so...
That's a bit, yeah. That's a bit sexy.
Yeah,
He slid into my DMs.
Oh, Taha slid into my
DMs. Shout out to you, Taha. To be fair, we do this a lot though.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey Taha. He's like, hey man, what's up, bro? Clients are like, what the fuck's going on? All right, let's move on for Taha. Love you, man.
Yeah.
But there are moments where you can just literally message someone before the wedding day. Hey, I come in peace, bro. Like, I'm here to help you. I'm just introducing myself. The second thing on the day of, hey, how do you like to shoot, by the way? Like, what's your style? What's your thing? How do you operate? That conversation is like a green flag for I come in peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how many times do you hear someone you've never worked up, like you never met before, come up to be like, hey, like, how do you like to shoot? How do you like to operate? I just want to respect.
So then we can work.
Correct, bro. You do
together.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, bro, that's gonna be so good. Like, I appreciate the fact that there are vendors coming out of their way to understand my shooting style, and it goes mutually both ways.
Yeah.
What is some of the ways that you can sort of identify to go, oh, this is really great, like etiquette, or this is something that I appreciate?
Well, I mean, we already talked about this, but just telling the other person if you're going somewhere with a couple is literally like
Let me know.
one of the biggest things.
Yeah,
And I've experienced this so many times in the past, bro. Like, just photographers just wandering off with couples while I'm doing video, or when I'm doing photos, the videographers wandering off with couples. Like, it's, I think that's obviously something on the day, but I think you've already covered. Like, I think mostly if I'm shooting with a new photographer, videographer, I normally just email them.
Yeah, it's a good
email
way.
them through, just be like, hey, like, looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, if there's anything you want me to know or something, if
Yeah.
there's anything you want me to bring, let me know. I think that's a really, really good way. And then I think the other part is just the post side of things I just thought of. Now, we talk about etiquette a bit on today's episode. And I think from an etiquette perspective, simple things like tagging those vendors go a long way. Sometimes we forget, and I'm not just saying photo video, I'm talking about other vendors as well, but sometimes we forget, but I always write, hey, just DM me to be tagged. I usually try and make sure that I might tag the other vendor just to be out of respect. Doesn't happen all the time, but that's a great way to just show, hey, I respect you.
But I think you actually write that if I haven't tagged you, can you let me know? Right?
Yeah,
and then I can
just,
tag
just
you.
so I can tag, And it's just a great way to just build that rapport again. And You've
had some colorful exchanges.
I think we both have some colorful exchanges where vendors literally be like, you didn't tag me.
But like, they're like, I remember there's one, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but...
Well, now we'll talk about it. Yeah. where
you forgot to tag someone.
I shot this photo, I posted this photo, and it was very like, tagged the hair and makeup artist, tagged the fucking clothing brand, tagged obviously myself, tagged the video guy. And I realized that afterwards I had forgotten. Oh, actually, no, I didn't realize I forgot. Sorry. And not because I was being a dick. I genuinely forgot. Bro, there's so many vendors on the day. You know how many people you have to tag? Anyways, and so then I remember this vendor commenting publicly on that image.
Yeah.
Saying,
why did you tag me?
Like, it would be nice if you could tag the decor company.
Yeah.
On that shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what?
Like, you could have just said it nicely.
You could have, first of all.
Yeah.
Or
you could have DM'd me.
You could have privately messaged me.
Yeah.
You could have been like, you could have tagged yourself, being like decor by XYZ, and then sent a winky emoji, and then I would have added it. But you chose a snarky route.
Yeah.
And you chose a snarky route because you thought I was being spiteful, which I wasn't. It was genuinely a forgetful moment. And I've literally written in the bottom, if you took time out to actually read that, vendors DM to be tagged. Now, I can't control the way people think. I can only control my actions. And if people want to think that I had a snarky like interest at mind or I was being spiteful, that's their prerogative. I'm not going to try and argue with that.
Yep.
But that's not the person I am. And if you think that I am, then you don't know me very well. And there are videographers and photographers who have this preconceived notion about who this other person is going to be. And I think you're only shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because if you're rocking up to a bride's wedding day or a groom's wedding day or like bride prep, groom prep, whatever, thinking XYZ about the other vendor before you even start, it's already a game over. Like you're already you're territorial now. You're already thinking, you're projecting. And we're starting to look at people before we even know them and judge them who they are. Based on maybe a recommendation, based on what we think of their brand, based on like maybe they didn't do something to us back in 2018 and now we're going to carry that forward. Bruh, like let that shit go. It's not healthy for anyone. You know what I mean?
And this happened with me as well. Remember there's a vendor who's like literally being snarky to me or thanks for tagging me in something, bruh. I was like...
We're not doing it deliberately, guys. Just to clarify, we're not doing it deliberately.
Like we don't know who like 20 different vendors are at times when we put up stuff, right? Like, I mean, I try to ask brides here and there, but sometimes you miss someone. Like we're not doing like purposely not tagging you or something.
I have literally had photos posted from vendors of my stuff who haven't tagged me.
I bet they're getting back at you.
Probably. But I'll DM them and be like, yo, like, I love this photo. Just, like, could you tag me?
Yeah.
Or I'll write it in myself in the comment section or whatever it is. But I'm not trying to be spiteful. I'm just trying to be like, hey, like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So if there is a moment as a photographer, videographer, where you've come by someone posting your content without tagging you, you could think the worst, which I don't encourage you to do, and just take the safe route of going, oh, they may have just forgotten, which would perhaps save that relationship so that the next time you guys work with each other, you guys might be all right. Do you have any other thoughts to add to this in terms of photo?
I feel like we're getting like a bit off topic, like this like tagging and whatever. We're talking about more about like photographer, videographer.
But I think if we look at the umbrella of dynamic relationships here, social media etiquette is a part of that. I mean, and I know we've sort of diverted a little bit, but it goes a long way. Because if I was being a dick afterwards online, like a relationship online is just as important as a relationship offline. That's pretty deep, but I think it's genuinely true. Like, if I'm not being courteous enough to just keep mindful of these things, it could look bad. And I don't want to come across as a dick. So things to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But maybe you're a photographer, videographer who has a tip or something that you guys do.
Or if you have like a fucked up story that you worked with another photographer, videographer who didn't give a shit, let us know in the comments below. Keen to hear it.
I bet you there are vendors. Actually, no, there is. There are some vendors. There are some photo video people who refuse to work with each other.
Oh, really?
I know this. Yeah, I know this for a fact because I had a bride.
Like they'll tell the client.
Yeah, so I had a bride call me the other day and she was doing a consult call and she was like, we did a 1 hour chat. It was beautiful. Then she goes, Kartik, I just want to ask you, is there any brands that you just cannot work with? I'm like, I'm sorry? She goes, is there anyone that you just do not want to work with? And I said, no. She goes, are you sure? I was like, last time I checked, I'm pretty okay with everyone.
Yeah.
I said, why? And she goes, oh, thank God. And I'm like, what happened? And she basically goes that, there are certain vendors that refuse to be in a room with another vendor. And I'm like, what the F? Yeah. And she's like, yeah. I was like, last time I checked, I'm all right. Like, I don't think I have a problem with anyone. Unless someone has a problem with me, then that's awkward, and I'm not self-aware enough. But
Did she say which vendor?
Nah, she didn't.
Okay.
But I felt like I could tell who it was.
Yeah. Tell me off camera.
Yeah. It was you. But it concerns me that there are vendors out there who just don't want to work with other vendors.
Why would that be? Like you reckon like a history?
Yeah, I think it is a bad history, and I think it is a bad working relationship on the day, and people just did not have the skills to resolve their conflict. People didn't have the communication skills. People didn't have the respect, the mindfulness to be like, fuck, it's not about us, it's about the client. Big problem right there.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, I ended this segment with that because I remembered it just now, and it makes me like so concerned how bad it could be that there are vendors who don't want to work with each other.
Yeah.
And like, I know actually, kind of off topic, but really not, there are hair and makeup artists who will share brides and bridesmaids that have beef. Bruh, it's tension.
Wait, say again. Brides and bridesmaids.
Yeah. So for instance, like, you know how like you will have like a vendor who does the bride's hair and makeup, then you'll have another vendor who does like the bridal party.
Bridal parties. Yeah.
And I'll step into a room and it's tense. Like you can sense
so wait, you're saying the two makeup artists don't get along with each other?
And you can sense a bit of like, so something's going down here.
Yeah.
And I'm like just doing one of these ons, just like observing.
Yeah.
But it's the exact
just in the
same.
air.
It's in the air, but it's the exact same concept. There are certain vendors within the same line of work who have to be in the same room that may not enjoy each other's company, right? And that's okay. We're not saying be fucking best friends and on all of this. No.
Be professional.
Be professional, right? Like be like, hey, good to see you.
Yeah.
May not be the case, but just say it anyways.
Yeah.
But you can sense it.
Yeah.
And if I can sense it as a vendor, the couple can sure as shit sense it.
I think this is why, to end this whole segment, once again, it is so important to book people that get along with each other, because it's not only going to like make your life easier on the day as a couple. I mean, all the like couple might not even know, because like most vendors would be good at like keeping things professional, but it's just like, to get the best results, it's definitely worth booking the two, like especially if we're going back to the photographer, videographer, definitely better to like book two people that get along rather than not.
I think you know what, if you're a client, and I just thought of this now, if you're a client and you're a bit unsure of how to ask the blunt question of, is there someone that you don't get along with or someone you get along with or whatever it is, you can, if you don't ask that question, that's okay. Just observe how during the consult phase of any vendor booking, not just photo, video, but makeup, decor, or catering, or like clothing, just observe how that vendor speaks. You can genuinely tell, in my opinion, this is people reading and understanding body language and psychology, I suppose, but you can tell a little bit about people's mannerisms, kindness, people's like respect, the way they speak, generally speaking. Like, you will have a vendor that you will notice can really be very optimistic and very like, I'm so happy if you go with another photographer, videographer. And I've said this so many times, like every time I end a consult call, I literally go to a couple, I'm like, hey, thank you so much for your time. By the way, just letting you know, you need to do your research. Go out there, look at who else is out there. Go and do your comparisons. Go and do your price like shopping and all of that stuff. Do I have to say those things? No. But what does it mean? It means that, hey, I'm coming at it from a mindset of going, we may not be the perfect fit, and that's totally okay. But at least I know that we can end this conversation on a positive note, knowing that this client's walking away saying, oh, don't go and talk to that person or that videographer or that vendor, because don't worry about them. Yeah. You don't want that. Yeah. You want someone who goes, this person's really optimistic, really positive, and they ain't going to say shit about other people. And they talk very well about it. Yeah. So I think observe those things if you're a client. Like, look at how vendors talk about things generally, but also how about other vendors. Look at their dynamic, their relationship. Look how they speak about it, because that's going to reflect a lot in who they are as a business owner, but as a person on the wedding day. And
we've talked about this from a non-business perspective in the past. I remember just sitting around, you say if someone's gossiping to you about someone else, there's a good chance that they're gossiping to other people about you.
And this is, I'm glad that you raised that, because this also goes equally within the vendor space. But there was a quote that I came across many years ago that I've never forgotten. And I shared this with you personally off camera before, but it's people who gossip to you will gossip about you. And I think the vendors that end up saying a lot of shit about other vendors, that usually is a red flag in my books. I'm very like cautious about what I say to who I say. Also, you shouldn't.
Mind you, we also like joke around and stuff. There's a difference. There's a difference. Like there's a difference. There's a fine line here. Like, don't cross that line. Don't be the vendor that goes to the client, oh, by the way, did you hear like because like, no, that's not good. That's not great. But as a client, just observe that. Because if you're a client that hears a vendor coming to you before you even raised anything and they're shit talking about other things, and you can tell the energy, and I'm big on energy for those who don't know, and energy is a bit sus. It's like, oh, I don't know, like bad juju vibes.
I don't want that stuff. And I think, equally goes both ways from when clients gossip to you about other vendors or whatever.
I just realized this whole episode, you've had a cat in your frame at the front. I'm looking at the monitor right now.
The ass is in my frame specifically.
Like the cat's ass is like right in front of you.
It's great. For those of you who
found that spot and he's really comfortable.
I think it's just the heater's on right now.
Oh, maybe.
This is the first time we're recording with one, the door open, and two, the heater on in the background.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are
cold as fuck,
it's cold as fuck right now. I'm in a short sleeve. Yeah. But for those of you who are listening to the podcast, there's Manav's cat. He's got 3 cats. This is one of them because it's fucking
just
crazy.
Chilling in front of your frame.
I mean, he's having a moment.
Yeah. He's just staring at the heater right now.
It's a ragdoll, right? That's the brand. I mean, breed.
Yeah. Brand. Yeah, bro.
It's the brand of cat.
It's a Gucci ragdoll.
It's the version 2.3 upgraded. Yeah.
All right, I think we should stop.
We're
heading off the rails, right?
Yeah. If you guys liked this video, make sure to
like and subscribe and comment. Shit comments, good comments, everything welcome.
I mean, preferably good comments.
Oh, no, shit comments are fine too. I don't mind.
For the algorithm.
For the algorithm. Yeah.
All right, shit comments too.
Yeah. Have a fight with each other in the comments if you want. I don't care.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. After spreading positivity here, go have a fight.
Gossip in our comments
if you want. Comment section. Yeah, be like, fuck, these vendors are fucking weird. And we will see you guys in the very next episode.
Peace.
Okay. Peace.